Hi everyone. I hope you are all doing well and that peace and goodness surround you today. Our topic is Babylon, one of the most iconic names in ancient history. Babylon was not simply a city, it was a place where law, writing, astronomy, and architecture took forms that influenced the entire human journey. The earliest traces of Babylon go back to around 2300 BCE, when it was a small settlement along the Euphrates River. It was part of Mesopotamia, a region often called the cradle of civilization. Mesopotamia gave us the first writing systems, the first urban states, and some of the earliest mathematical calculations. Babylon's rise to importance came in the 18th century BCE under the reign of King Hammurabi. Hammurabi is remembered across the world for his code of laws. This was not just a collection of rules, it was a new idea that justice could be written down and made public, so that citizens knew their rights and duties. The code covered trade, family, property, and even penalties for negligence. While punishments could be strict, the principle of law above rulers was groundbreaking for its time. It meant order was not based only on power, but also on structured rules. Babylon also became a center of knowledge. Scribes trained in cuneiform writing, recorded contracts, myths, and temple rituals. Clay tablets unearthed by archaeologists show us records of farming, astronomy, and medicine. The Babylonians noticed planetary patterns, lunar cycles, and even used this knowledge to design calendars that guided agriculture. The city itself reflected ambition. Massive temples called ziggurats rose step by step into the sky. They were not only religious centers, but also signs of human engineering skill. The famous ziggurat at Temenanke is believed to have inspired later traditions about towers that reached the heavens. Life in Babylon was rich and layered. Merchants traded grain, copper, and textiles. Craftsmen made jewelry, pottery, and tools. Music, rituals, and poetry were part of daily existence. This combination of law, knowledge, and creativity set Babylon apart from many of its neighbors. Before we move further into the story, I want to pause and share something important. This channel is user-friendly, no offensive content, no misinformation. We explain things with respect, curiosity, and authenticity. Babylon's beginnings remind us that civilizations grow not only by power, but also by ideas that shape how people live together. Babylon entered its most famous era under King Nebuchadnezzar II, who ruled from 605 to 562 BCE. He was a skilled commander and an ambitious builder. During his reign, Babylon grew into the largest city of the ancient world, with an estimated population that may have reached 200,000 people. The city's defenses were legendary. 2 sets of massive walls encircled the heart of Babylon. Ancient writers claimed the outer wall was so wide that chariots could ride on top. Though descriptions may have been exaggerated, the scale of these fortifications was unlike anything seen before. Among the city's grand entrances, the Ishtar Gate stood above all others, covered in deep blue glazed bricks and decorated with lions, bulls, and dragons. It became a symbol of Babylonian pride. Archaeologists recovered parts of the gate, and today a reconstruction can be seen in the Pergamon Museum in Berlin. It gives us a glimpse of how dazzling the original must have appeared. Nebuchadnezzar also oversaw the construction of palaces and temples. The ziggurat, known as Temenanke, towered in the city center. This stepped pyramid, dedicated to the god Marduk, was both a place of worship and a sign of political power. Some believe it inspired ancient tradition of a great tower built toward the heavens. The most legendary wonder linked with Babylon is the Hanging Gardens. Ancient accounts describe a series of terraces filled with trees and plants, irrigated by an ingenious water-lifting system. They were said to have been built to please a queen who longed for the green landscapes of her homeland. Whether these gardens truly stood in Babylon remains debated, since no firm archaeological evidence has been found. But their description captured imaginations. For over 2,000 years, knowledge also flourished in Nebuchadnezzar's time. Babylonian scholars observed stars and planets, recording their movements with accuracy. They recognized cycles of the moon and used mathematics to predict eclipses. Their number system was based on 60, and from this we still divide time into minutes and seconds, and circles into 360 degrees. Religious life centered on Marduk, the chief god of Babylon. Festivals such as the Akitu, celebrated at the start of the year, renewed the king's right to rule. These events combined ritual, music, and public gatherings, reminding citizens of their shared identity. Trade also connected Babylon to distant lands. Caravans arrived with copper, tin, timber, spices, and fine cloth. The city became a hub where cultures, ideas, and wealth came together across Mesopotamia. Under Nebuchadnezzar, Babylon became more than a capital. It was a stage where art, science, and empire met in one shining era of history. After the brilliance of Nebuchadnezzar's reign, Babylon began to face struggles. Following his death in 592 BCE, the empire passed to weaker successors. Political disputes, court intrigues, and pressure from rising foreign powers slowly weakened Babylon's stability. One of the last rulers of Babylon was Nabonidus, a king remembered for his unusual focus on religious reforms. He favored the worship of the moon god Sin over the traditional chief god Marduk. This decision created tension with priests and citizens, since Babylon's identity was strongly tied to Marduk's temple and rituals. By the mid-6th century BCE, a new empire was growing in the east, the Persians under Cyrus the Great. Cyrus was a brilliant strategist and skilled in diplomacy. In 539 BCE, his forces marched toward Babylon. The city's defenses were considered unbreakable, but ancient accounts suggest that the Persians diverted part of the Euphrates River. By lowering the water level, they entered the city through its river gate. Without a long siege, when Cyrus took control, he did something remarkable for that time. He presented himself not as a destroyer, but as a liberator. In inscriptions including the famous Cyrus cylinder, he declared respect for local gods and allowed exiled peoples to return home. This policy helped him gain legitimacy and maintain peace in the newly expanded empire. Under Persian rule, Babylon remained an important center for administration and culture. Its temples continued functioning, its astronomers continued their work, and the city still thrived as a hub of trade. But it was no longer the independent powerhouse it had been under Nebuchadnezzar. Later in the 4th century BC, Babylon entered another dramatic chapter. Alexander the Great, after defeating the Persians, chose Babylon as one of his capitals. He admired its history and grandeur. Some sources say he even planned to make Babylon the center of his empire. But his sudden death in 323 BCE ended those ambitions. Without a strong ruler, the city's importance declined steadily. In the centuries that followed, Babylon's population shrank. Trade routes shifted, temples crumbled, and new powers rose elsewhere in the region. By the time of the early Common Era, Babylon had largely fallen silent, its once mighty walls reduced to ruins under desert winds. Yet the memory of Babylon never disappeared. Its name lived on in texts, legends, and religious traditions, symbolizing both greatness and human pride. Even in decline, Babylon remained a symbol far larger than its stones. Though Babylon fell into ruin, its legacy outlived the city itself. For centuries, travelers and writers spoke of Babylon as a place of wonders. Its walls, its ziggurats, and the mysterious hanging gardens were remembered as marvels of the ancient world. But much of what people believed was shaped by legends. For a long time, the real Babylon was buried under sand and soil, hidden from view. It was not until the 19th century that archaeologists began serious excavations in present-day Iraq. In the early 1900s, a German team led by Robert Koldewey spent years uncovering the city's remains. They revealed the foundations of palaces, the Great Processional Way, and the breathtaking Ishtar Gate. Bricks inscribed with Nebuchadnezzar's name confirmed the scale of his building project. Some of these remains were carefully reconstructed in museums, allowing the world to see what ancient Babylon looked like. The discoveries showed us that Babylon was more than myth. It was a center of science, law, and culture that shaped human history. Its mathematics gave us ways to measure time and space. Its laws provided models for fairness and accountability. Its astronomy opened doors to understanding the heavens. Even in literature and religion, Babylon carried lasting influence. It appeared as a symbol in sacred texts, sometimes representing human ambition, sometimes serving as a reminder of how power can rise and fall. This mixture of reality and symbolism kept Babylon alive in memory long after its decline. Today, ruins of Babylon still stand near modern Hilla in Iraq. UNESCO added the site to the World Heritage List in 2019, acknowledging both its historical value and its need for preservation. Visitors can walk among the ruins, see parts of the original walls, and imagine the city as it once was, a place alive with merchants, priests, and scholars. Babylon teaches us a timeless truth. Civilizations may fade, but their ideas continue to shape the world. Its story reminds us that humanity's drive to build, to learn, and to dream is as old as history itself. All the information we provide comes from verified historical sources, including books, records, and archaeology. For deeper reading, some sources include Babylon, Mesopotamia, and the Birth of Civilization by Paul Kriwacek. The Babylonians, an introduction by Gwendolyn Like. The inscriptions of Hammurabi's Code, the Cyrus Cylinder translations. Archaeological records published by Robert Calderwood. UNESCO World Heritage reports on Babylon 2019. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Thrones of Knowledge. And don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified on time. Suggest our next topic in the comments to help make our journey even better.